Well, 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 look what we've found. The famous Catalina Island bison. This is the Trans-Catalina Trail, day 2. We started our day at the Blackjack campground, which is where we got to last night, but I couldn't show it last night because we got there in the dark. You're not supposed to hike on the island in the dark. But whoopsies, we did hike for about half an hour in the dark because we missed our ferry over to the island. And so we didn't end up getting started until about 4 p.m. Had almost 11 miles to go. So it is what it is. We had our headlamps. Obviously, we're pretty comfortable night hiking, so not a huge deal to us, but we did feel bad because we know you're not supposed to hike in the dark. We did try to hustle, but we didn't quite make it. It was sort of weird though. You have to make reservations for camping and you get a designated campsite that you pay for, and you pay per person plus a reservation fee. So for this campsite at Blackjack Campground, we paid about 70 bucks. And we get there and there are people camped in our campsite. And it was like 8:30 when we got there. They didn't come out, didn't say anything. And I was kind of thinking, like, giving them the benefit of the doubt, thinking like, oh, they must have set up at the wrong campsite, whatever. But then they never came out this morning either. And I heard them moving around. I heard them deflating their sleeping pads, and they never came out of their tent while we were still there. We left about 8 o'clock this morning. So I think they were hiding from us because they stole our campsite and they took the best tent spot in the whole campsite. So I'm like, in my opinion, they owe me for half of that campsite. But it is what it is. I'm letting it go. Although I know that one of them has a red shirt. Like, not only did they set up in our campsite, but they also took up like the entire food box with their stuff. They like hung their stuff all over the campsite. It was super weird. I even like double checked my reservation, double checked which campsite it was, and yeah, they just straight up took over our campsite and did not come out to say anything to us while we were there. I suspect they came out of their tent shortly after we left this morning. But again, it is what it is. Anyway, it's been a very foggy day so far. We are doing about 13.5 miles today. We're hiking from Blackjack Campground up to Two Harbors Campground. So this is Blackjack, and it sits basically up on top of a mountain. It's a forested area. We've got a little bit of uphill right out the gate this morning, but we did a lot of uphill yesterday, so it won't be too bad. At least until later, I suspect. Doesn't this kind of look like a colorless rainbow? There seems to be a lot of fog that just sits up on top of the island, and we've hit some already this morning. I guess that makes sense for an island. We were hearing a ton of ribbiting last night, and hey, found a little frog. 1.9 miles into our day, we have reached the airport in the sky. We don't need anything, so we're not stopping in, but they do have a grill, and you can get breakfast and lunch there, apparently. Oh, hey, are you guys seeing what I'm seeing? We've been seeing bison droppings on the trail for several miles, and we found the bison. The bison were originally brought over to the island back in the 1920s for a Western movie, and they still live here. The herd is taken care of by the Catalina Island Conservancy. And by taken care of, I mean managed. 88% of the island is protected land, and it's all managed by the Conservancy. Apparently at some points through the years there have been up to 600 bison, but now they don't allow the bison herd to get over 150. Keep in mind that while they're really cool to see, bison are wild animals and they can be really dangerous. I think we've all heard the stories about bison from Yellowstone, so just make sure that if you do see the bison, you're keeping a safe distance. Currently, we're at a standstill with all of these bison because we don't want to walk next to them and get gored, but also they don't seem to be in a hurry to get anywhere. So we're just sort of standing on the trail, waiting for them to leave. Wish us luck. Luckily, they did eventually move along, so we were able to move along. Just a note that I think it would be really difficult to do this trail without some sort of GPS app because it is not the best signed trail I have ever seen. And oftentimes you might get to a road and that splits and there's no indication on the signs or anything which way you should be going. There do seem to be decent signs when you're on a single track like a normal trail, but some parts get really confusing, especially the roads. I personally am using the Far Out app, but there are other ones as well that you could use. It's been a really foggy morning and we've been wondering where the ocean is. We finally found it. So that's where we're heading, down to Little Harbor and then beyond. Oh, look at this fuzzy little creature. It looks a lot like a woolly bear, but all black with red spots. I'm glad we're going downhill now to get out of this fog, at least for a little bit. I don't know what these purple flowers are among the prickly pears, but I know that I like them. All right, we have reached Little Harbor. So this is another one of the campgrounds. We're not staying here because it was only about 8 miles from Blackjack, and we want to do more miles than that. And this campground is a bit harder to get sites at because it's right by the ocean, but it looks really lovely. We stopped here and had a nice lunch break, but from here it's onward and upward to Two Harbors. So you know what that means, right? More fog. There are some really lovely flowers on this island. Oh gosh, I just love wildflowers. Oh my gosh, this is so much better now that the fog has lifted and you can actually see what's around you. It's so green and so pretty. This is a nice change of pace because Colorado, where I live, is not looking this green right now. And our wildflowers are definitely not out in Colorado yet. We knew that we had a climb out of Little Harbor, but this is a bit more intense than I was expecting. I feel like the video doesn't really do it justice, but this trail is quite steep here. Actually, it's generally quite steep. There are a lot of steep ups and there are a lot of steep downs. And this is our first glance of Two Harbors, where we'll be staying tonight. While Avalon is the bigger town on the island that's more the tourist hub, Two Harbors is really sleepy and small. There's a campground here just a little ways outside of town, but you have to hike to it, so it actually adds more miles onto your day. On the plus side, the views on the way to the campground are just stunning. You get to walk right next to the beach and up the hill. Just an FYI that the Two Harbors campground is not right on the Trans-Catalina Trail. It's about half a mile off of the trail, so be prepared for that. You get really great access to town from the campground, and the views are stunning if you're lucky enough to get a good campsite. We planned late and we did not get a great campsite with views, but still great access to town and close enough to the beach. By the way, beware of the gray foxes who will try to rob your campsite. See you for the next episode.